episode.
That's true. Romantic crimes, but no war crimes. All right, let's put you guys over in the corner.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
Should we call you baby now? I didn't think you were baby.
Please don't.
I was going to say, that's not your name. Though that is a great movie. You've seen Dirty Dancing, right, Alex?
It has been so many years, but I saw it when I was in high school, yes.
Me.
Mama.
Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of Star Wars Generations Podcast. Today we have murders in the Senate, we have romance, we have honey traps, we have a reminder that jealousy is romantic, and more than anything, we have the Sherlock Holmes of the Star Wars universe. Friends, we're talking about 2 episodes from Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 2, Episode 4, Senate Murders. No, sorry, Episode 4, Senate Spy, and Episode 15, Senate Murders, tied together by both of them being about Padme and Anakin and their relationship and murder and all sorts of fun things like that. I'm joined, as always, by Alex and Aaron. How are my co-hosts doing this week?
I'm doing okay. Yeah. Nursing
So-
school has got to me, so
Work is
Look.
exhausting.
yeah.
But we here.
I'm
We're
excited to talk about this.
Yeah.
We're here. We're here talking. And we've got 2 great episodes today. There's a lot of kind of themes that will carry over, but we're going to talk about them one by one. These are my favorite episodes from Season 2. We're not doing all of the seasons, but for each season of the Clone Wars, each of the 3 of us is going to pick some of our favorite episodes. We're also going to get some fan favorite episodes in here. And today we're talking about these 2. Let's start with Episode 4, Senate Spy. Quick overview of the episode for those who haven't seen it, although hit pause, go watch it. What are you doing with your life? Jimmy Kimmel's back. You can resubscribe to Disney Plus, but or not. That's a fair choice either way. But either way, we'll tell you what happens. So Senator Clovis is a senator who the Jedi believe is working with the Separatists. They want someone to spy on him. In Yoda's esteemed words, selected Senator Amidala we have. They haven't asked her if she wants to be it. They've just decided she should be the spy because they have some history together. And of course, they assign Anakin to help guard her, having no idea that the 2 of them have any kind of romantic connection, even though they give every possible indication that they can. The 2 of them go off with Clovis while he goes off to meet with some Separatists. Padme would make Black Widow proud because she is straight up honeypotting this guy, making him think that she's still romantically interested in all that in order to get him to spill all the secrets. Anakin is getting super jealous during all of this, and isn't it cute that jealousy is adorable, I guess? No, it's toxic as hell, but we'll move past that. He works with some senators. They try to poison Padme. We have some more shenanigans. It turns out that Clovis is actually the only one who cares much about Padme in all of this, in any kind of a healthy way. But at the end of it all, we realize that Clovis is a Separatist. We stop the Separatist plans. We rescue Padme from being poisoned. We stop Senator Lot Dodd and the Geonosian who's working with them as well. And good triumphs, and Padme and Anakin are reunited in romantic, jealousy-filled bliss.
Yeah.
Did I get all the details?
Basically, I'd say
You
so.
got- yeah, you got the broad strokes.
Yeah. So
You
where do we wanna
missed
start?
all of the murder glares that Anakin shot Clovis.
Like I said, jealousy. I mean, so I want to ask for you 2, especially Aaron, watching this when you were young. What do you have any remembrance of sort of how you felt about this when you were young? Was it like, oh, look how cute and romantic they are?
No, I definitely always viewed that episode as they're having a problem between them and they're having a disagreement and this is not good and they kind of work it out in the end. I
Mhm.
never was like, oh my God, and then he ran in and saved her. I'm like, dude, she was doing fine. Back the fuck up.
Yeah.
Except she did get poisoned, so she wasn't doing as fine as she thought she was.
Yeah, it's such
did
a
her
weird
best.
episode because I will say early in the episode, they do what I think with all respect to the prequels, they never quite accomplish. They achieve actual romantic chemistry between Anakin and Padme. I'm just gonna call him Panakin from now
New
on.
ship name.
Right? There we go. There's this wonderful moment where he talks about how much he missed her and how he couldn't wait to get back to her, which he refers to as home. And she kind of like swoons a little bit at him calling it home, and it's this beautiful moment. To me, these are the moments that, like, when I later watch Revenge of the Sith and I think about the power of the relationship, it's episodes like this for me that really carry it home.
Yeah, I definitely feel like this episode, their relationship was believable. Like you're saying, like it didn't seem forced. It seemed natural. And that whole thing, you know, with him being like, oh, this is home. She's like, oh my God, you call this home? And then later when he gets paged by the Jedi, honestly, I think this episode kind of laid some groundwork for how I am in relationships, which maybe isn't the best. But because Anakin goes like, I'm sorry, but like duty comes first, especially in wartime. Like I've got to go to the Jedi Council. And she's like, okay, whatever, fuck off. And then the Jedi Council is like, Padme's gonna spy. And he's like, no. Anakin, by the way. Anakin's like, no, she should not spy. It's too dangerous. And they're like, okay. And then they go ask her and she's like, or no. And then, yeah, Anakin tells her, he's like, yeah, I said that I wouldn't allow it. And she's like, oh, you wouldn't fucking allow it, would you? Guess what? Suddenly I feel like spying.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, yo, what? And she goes, duty comes first, Anakin.
Savage as fuck.
Especially in wartime. I'm like,
it's so cruel. It's so savage.
Oh, she's so bad. Like, she just stands for her own. I love her.
The shoes have been on the other foot. It is so well done. I applaud so much of that. The only thing I kind of like had to bang my head against a wall was when there's a moment where he's like, wait, so you were angry the other night when he had to go? And she's like, no, it was fine. I wasn't angry. And I was like, oh God, not this dumb stereotype. Please communicate directly, people. Communicate directly, please.
I mean, whoever does.
Polyamorous autistic people?
Well,
anyway.
Good for you.
Word.
Yeah, it can happen. You can have relationships without passive aggression. I promise. But yeah, there's so much there. I also think it's really interesting that how much the Jedi completely misunderstand her in this. Because, as I said, they kind of voluntold her to do this. They say to her that, you know, they choose her to go, but for some reason they don't want to tell her why they want her to do it. But then the minute Anakin, like without even intending to, lets slip, this is why we want you to spy on Clovis, because we think he's a separatist, she's immediately on board. And to me, that's just one more sign of how wrong the Jedi have all of this. Because if they had just said, hey, we think Clovis is a separatist, will you spy on him for us? Clearly, she would have been on board the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's a interesting way of seeing that they just really are off in everything.
Alex, what about for you? Anakin is your hero, I know. What do we think of, well, I have to break this seat so that they can't sit together while I'm flying the ship?
He's not a hero. He's just someone I like to defend sometimes, all the time. But in this instance, I mean, okay, here's like, okay. I'm a broad stroke this, and we'll get down to the little nitty gritty here. So first and foremost, I am well aware that Anakin is an abusive partner, at least emotionally now, later, clearly, physically in episode 3. But I do, I understand a level, like, I don't think like him breaking the chair because he was jealous is that, it's petty, but it wasn't as bad as things get, as I think things progress, and you can see him just more and more and more jealous, because that shows he just doesn't trust Padme. I know he claims, like, I trust you, I just don't trust Clovis. But that's just not, it's not true. If you trusted Padme, you would trust that, like, she'd be able to stop, herself or stop Clovis from doing anything.
Do you think it's the lack of trust that causes him and thus you to add a third syllable to her name?
Stop.
I would say Padme until the day I die. I know it's wrong, but I just live on this. I would live and die on this.
I get names so wrong on this show all the time. It's totally okay.
No, I know, but it's funny because I'm always the one who's like trying to get names right. But
Alex, you're okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's great. I don't know, and I feel at the root of it, like, their relationship is so strange because, like, Padme is such like a strong-willed woman who's just like, I don't know, like I don't know, just compared to like the way Anakin is. Like Anakin is so like, okay, the best way I can put this is Anakin's very possessive.
Yeah.
And he's very like, his mental illness is that like he had everything taken from him. He lost his mom. He was a slave. He had nothing. And now the one thing he quote unquote has, big quotes, is Padme. And so he thinks he owns her and should possess her. And like it acts very that way. And Padme is very like independent, strong, badass. No one owns me. No one tells me what to do. And so the fact that they work is very strange to me in the first place. But like, I think the nature of their relationship, really rears its ugly head in this episode because Anakin has a direct like opponent to be jealous at, basically, if that makes sense. But I think obviously like, we talk about it when we get there, but Clovis comes back in the show in the future and it gets worse and worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
Facts.
I have things I can jump in there with, but Aaron, I've been saying a lot, so you go ahead.
Oh, you go.
So I think you're right. I think this is one of those moments where, like, I've watched this and gone back and forth between, is this the authors just kind of inserting the possessiveness as romantic nonsense that is a lot of TV, or is this actually really brilliant writing? And I want to give them credit and think it's the second one, because what you were talking about, that possessiveness, that's attachment. And the kind of jealousy he has is the attachment. It's the fear of loss. And to me, I think we can read it as this is very intentional, showing that his love for her is the exact kind of thing that, Yoda and Obi-Wan are always saying, like, this is what we have to be careful of. Because you're right, so much of it's a lack of trust. Like, if given how much she loves him, the idea that whether or not something bad's going to happen depends on whether or not they can sit together in a spaceship while he's flying it. Like, it's utterly ridiculous. Why would that matter to him? But it's because to him, and to have some sympathy for him, it's because he lost everything he's always thought he could hold on to, he has lost. And so he's developed this, anxious attachment style, this very kind of idea of like, I have to hold on. That's complete misuse.
And that's what I was kind of getting at, Matthew, is that I'm not supporting it. But I just always my take with Anakin is I'm not supporting the choices he makes, but I'm very empathetic towards him because of what he has been through. And it's kind of like the whole like in real life, it's like, obviously like, when someone commits a horrible crime, I'm like, that is, I'm not exonerating that person, I'm not forgiving that person, but like I still could feel a twinge of empathy if they were like, abused, tortured, all these things over their life. Like Anakin went through.
Can you screen grab this moment right now?
Just
obviously eventually kill children and be abused.
Shit.
Damn it.
I heard that.
So
Would I get cut off?
Anakin,
But my point was just that, like, it doesn't exonerate him from being all the things he's done. But I think in the grand scheme of things, like, if it was just him being a little petty and jealous, like, breaking the seat and stuff that's technically harmless, I'd probably let it slide because, like, Homeboy's been through a lot. But it's the fact that it's a pattern. It's a symptom of a much larger and much worse pattern that leads to the genocide of billions. That is the problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
Today, it's breaking a chair. Tomorrow, the Death Star.
Very different thing. I mean, I agree with
it's all
everything you
past.
guys are saying about like empathy does not equal forgiveness.
Mhm.
And Anakin certainly is shit. I don't want to say he's owed a lot of empathy, but like it's easy to give him empathy because of the way that we're introduced to the character and the way that we follow him. But I think, yeah, the distinction is important. We're like watching any of these episodes back now, I'm like, Anakin, you're being a dick. Like, you are an asshole, and I don't know why she is still with you. Because if my partner acted like that, I'd freak the fuck out in public. And, like, it would be a whole thing. It'd be a fucking scene. Like, don't speak to me like that. And I like that she has some resistance to it, and we get to see her strong character a little more than we got to see it in episode 3, as in Revenge of the Sith. But yeah, it's I liked how they kind of threw in a baby version of what happens later to kind of like explain to you how things progressed.
Yeah.
Also, it's a tiny bit off topic, so you can go first if you need to.
Go for it. I think
So we've been talking about attachments. And I recently saw a TikTok that was like, whew, Anakin's like, Obi-Wan, I don't understand. Like, why are attachments forbidden? And he's like, oh, like you just can't. Ba-da-ba. And then Anakin's like, what the fuck about Ki-Adi-Mundi though? Because
Yeah.
Ki-Adi-Mundi had like 6 wives and a ton of kids because his species was going extinct. And I opened the comments and somebody said, they never said he was attached to his wives.
Facts. I mean,
Yeah.
facts. The dude stood on business.
Oh,
Repopulated.
I
He
just
did his
think about
duty.
it.
Repopulated his species.
Yeah,
Think about it a lot.
Kyle Mundi father? No. Kyle Mundi sperm donor? Yes.
Facts.
Yeah, the Jedi are like, as long as you are a distant husband and a cold and uninvolved father, you're good. You're fine.
Yeah.
He said no
Exactly.
prop.
Exactly. No, and I think you're
Wow,
exactly
movie.
right. And I love that you brought up I love that you brought up Padme in episode 3, because to me there's such a difference. But like, just compare. Well, no, sorry, Anakin, I have to do it this way because in wartime it's important. Versus Anakin, you're breaking my heart. And that line to me is just is so emblematic of how much they ruin her character in that movie, because she doesn't stand up to him. She's just like, she just feels weak and an object of the movie instead of it being, all the things that we've seen from her throughout the Clone Wars.
I have something to say. Although I do not disagree that her character is watered down and kind of glossed over in the 3rd movie, I think that we can look at that line, Anakin, you're breaking my heart, in a different way, because like she has seen video clips of him murdering children. Like, she's sitting there and she's like, I know nothing about this person. I don't know who the fuck this person is. But what I do know is that he said he loved me. So hopefully if he's hurting me, he'll listen.
Right.
That's how I look at it personally. But it's not the strongest line of dialogue.
Yeah.
I always interpret it as kind of like, those relationships that are oftentimes the relationship is pretty abusive and it's clear to like friends and family, and they try and talk. The person's like, well, you just don't see what he's like when we're alone, or you just don't get it. Like you don't
know the real him.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So whenever you hear that line, you know that like something's going. Because like the thing is, like in a healthy relationship, like people do see the real, authentic person because they're like that in public too. And I always felt like Padme was always under. Maybe she tricked herself, or she was under this illusion that like as soon as they were alone, and he was this different, loving, kinder person. He was only acting that way, out in the world. And so like when he was acting this way and she saw the truth, maybe she kind of, to me, it was like it dawned on her for real, like, fuck, Anakin really is like a violent war criminal who's low-key lost his mind.
I get
Facts.
that. And I think it's just that to me in that moment, it's about sadness instead of anger. And I feel like, and granted, there were scenes where we see her being angry and trying to stop what's happening. They were just all cut from the movie. And so that I think that moment in itself would have been a lot better if there had been other scenes of her being like, okay, you're breaking my heart, but also you're a murdering bastard. Like, what the hell, dude? Where it's more pushing back on him instead of kind of begging him to be better. But yeah, we're kind of off on a tangent there. Just a couple of the last things from this episode.
Ki-Adi-Mundi.
Is there anything more? I mean, I kind of don't want to go through all the ins and outs of the poisoning plot because I felt like none of it made any sense.
I mean, I'd like to say one thing. I think that like, first, okay, 2 things I want to know. One, I want to discuss Clovis as a character for a second because he does recur. He is interesting to me. I mean, I think that like I do not like Clovis. I think he's a freaking jerk. But I do think he's kind of a little more complex. I mean, he like clearly cares about Padme, whatever. And I don't know, like he kind of strikes me as like, ethically a little ambiguous. Like I still think in the end he's out for himself, but like, in this episode, like, it makes it clear that he does have some level of morals that are at least like a little bit higher than the Ki-Adi-Mundi and the other separatists, which like the bar is pretty low when you're talking about like, the separatist leaders in that room. But like, I don't know. And it felt like Padme really did bring out a better side in him. And he really generally wanted to be a good person for her. Now he also too was a little like, extra, heterosexual man energy that was just a little annoying. But like, he wasn't doing the kind of shit Anakin was doing. So I don't know. It just felt like Clovis is really interesting to me, and the fact that like he isn't just a one-off character and recurs. It also gives you a little insight into Padme's past, like the fact that they were like flirtatious, like quasi, I don't know if crushes, lovers, whatever you want to call them, when they were young in the Senate. The insinuation is that like they were at least like smooching.
I have input into this, Matthew. You've also read the books about Padme growing up.
Were they not smooching?
They were not smooching.
Oh.
He was like helping her with this bill because he was like, and because he believed in the bill. He's still a politician, and so like they did all this stuff together, and he was so helpful. And she was like, "Oh my God, Clovis, you're the best. Thank you." And then he like tried to kiss her, and she was like, "What the fuck?
Oh.
Where did you get that from?" And then
Never
he was
mind
like, and so yeah, it seems to be unrequited. According to those books,
which what does make it a little funnier, the episode as a whole, and I think. But to be fair, the episode did come out before the book, so I think at the time the insinuation was probably that like there was at least some kind of romance. Or honestly, the book reviewing that, Aaron, to me makes it feel like Padme made it seem to Anakin like there was more, just to get under his skin and be
just
like,
to fuck with him.
Just to fuck with him, because she was like, I'm pissed at you. So I'm gonna let you believe that there was something going on there. Because that's some shit Padme would do to Anakin.
Well, I think there's a couple things here. One, I will say, I definitely thought of those books as I rewatched this episode. So much so that actually when I read that part in the books, I stopped to go watch this episode. And I never really felt they lined up, because I do feel like the episode, it implies that there was more happening there. But I definitely think that the implication is one way or the other that he clearly had romantic feelings. And yeah, I'm putting his politics aside, and his politics are separatist and awful. I'm not going to, all of that is terrible. I'm not excusing that. But in terms of his feelings towards Padme, I'm actually much more like, if if him and Anakin are on Bachelor, I'm voting for him, or The Bachelorette, whatever. I'm voting for him over Anakin, because he is a little sleazy, no argument, but she isn't the one kind of initiating that. And I'm not like shaming her for that. She's doing the Black Widow routine. She's doing exactly what she needs to do, playing on the fact that like, yes, he wanted her all those years ago. And now she's like, oh, Clovis, I'm so lonely. I wish I could, you and I could be together again, in order to get in with him. She's doing a very good job of that. And like, more props to her. Black Widow would be like, yeah, hell yeah. But it never feels like he's sort of like pushing that too much, or kind of trying to be like using that as power over her. And then, to me, he does the one thing that neither the Jedi nor Anakin do, which is gives her agency, but more importantly, he does sacrifice for her. Anakin like will do anything to protect her as his possession in terms of what is good for him with being with her. Clovis is in this position where, in order to work with his allies and get the political plan and the financial plan that he wants to do, he has to be willing to sacrifice Padme, and he refuses. He turns on his allies, he helps rescue her, and in the process, he gets himself in real trouble with them. And to me, that's kind of a sacrificial act that like we never see from Anakin in that regard, and certainly not from the Jedi in terms of how they treat her. Again, he's politically awful, he's financially awful. I'm not excusing any of that, but I think it's a very nice. To me, he actually has a higher regard for her, I think, than Anakin, in terms of like an actual healthier, like, I want you to be okay for your sake, even if it screws me, whereas Anakin wants her as something he is attached to.
I have
and entitled
something to say. Ew.
That's what
You're
Anakin
right.
acts like.
Ew.
He's entitled to Padme.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
What were you just saying, Matthew?
First, can I just say, if you have the ability to go on YouTube, watch this, because your reactions, Aaron, to this, often intentional, have just been fantastic.
Yeah, guys.
Aaron was acting out some of the romantic comments you were making a while ago, Alex. That was great. Check it all out on YouTube. Anyway, though, I was saying that I think that there's a genuineness towards Clovis's feelings towards her, and that he is willing to sacrifice himself and his own ambitions in order to help save her.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it. Okay, so big differences in their relationships. When Clovis met Padme, he got to know Padme. He spent time with Padme. Then, they went their separate ways. That's his relationship with Padme. When Anakin met Padme, they had this one intense, low-key trauma bonding experience. He did not see her for 10 years. He spent 10 years building the perfect woman in his head. And I know this because I've done that. Because this is why I don't look up partners on social media. Because I don't want to have an idea of who you are in my head based on just my imagination and my hopes. Like, I believe that Anakin turned Padme into this perfect woman. And then when they came back together and she showed a little interest, tried to make a circle fit in a square hole. Like, he was just like, no, this is what I need from you. And actually, while we were talking about this, some insight I got thinking back to episode 2 when he murders all the Tuskens. And she's like, oh, it's okay, baby. Me, having just gotten out of a very sketchy relationship, I now fully understand how when something happens and you are afraid of that person, you will coddle that person because you're in shock too. And you don't know how to react.
Yeah.
But you don't want them to be upset at you. And so I think like with their whole relationship, it's fawning. With their whole relationship, we see a lot of like trauma responses and like easy flags of like abuse and things like that, which we've been saying this whole episode, but just some things I kind of put together.
Yeah. Like one thing that really strikes me is how at one point he says, you never told me that you and him had like a thing before. And it's funny because he says that at first in front of the Jedi, and the Jedi are like, why would she have told you that? And there's again like, I don't know, Yoda. Maybe they're boinking. Like, did you ever consider that? Like, total idiots. But yeah, the way she says it, like to me, this is an animated kids show from 20 years ago version of him saying like, oh, I didn't know she had a body count. It's like it's that exact same thinking of like, suddenly I'm entitled to know about, and I'm entitled to think that you are just like pure and perfect and waiting for me your entire life. Because as you said, he was waiting for her his entire life because he imprinted like a baby duck on her. And yeah, all that goes into this. Yeah, I think it's a brilliant point. And so right on.
Yeah. Shall we move on to Senate murders?
Murder.
Okay, Alex, just fucking blew
murder.
Alex, what happens in the episode Senate
Red Rum?
Red Rum.
Yeah, Senate Murders is pretty juicy, honestly. Okay, so hold on a second. I'm having a stroke. I'm trying to remember how it started. I know the whole episode, but how do we pan in? Basically, they're in a vote to start with, right?
Yeah. So
yeah,
this is framed as, and they actually frame it as, look, there's the battle going on the battlefields, but there's also the battle going on in the Senate.
Right.
And the question is, how much should they continue the war?
Yes.
And the issue before the Senate is whether to authorize continued spending for the acquisition of more troops.
And Padme and her party, basically her like, her friends in the Senate are all adamantly against it. And she gives this impassioned speech to like basically, like stop this. And if the war, if we fund this bill, then democracy will never return. The war will just keep going. And it basically like her adversaries in the Senate, who's Senator Dichi, who is a Kaminoan, is sorry. What?
Hold on.
I thought Senator Dichi was the pointy guy.
So I thought Dichi was the Kaminoan, or maybe
Senator
you're right.
Dichi is the pointy guy. Yell at us in the comments about the race. And then Senator
Bertoni is the Kaminoan. Sorry, you're correct.
And so obviously she has a marked interest in wanting this to continue because it's more money for Kaminoa. Also a bit of important context for this, for those who may not remember or, were too young, this is all all this show is happening kind of right around the same time as the ongoing wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, where when people started to really try to push back against U.S. involvement in those things, the way that would often manifest itself was over Senate, congressional debates over do we continue to fund those things, with congressmen who were being directly funded by the military companies being the ones pushing it. So just all that's important context for this.
Yeah, and I'll try to give it broader strokes. Basically, because of Padme's speech, things are temporarily tabled as they kind of look into it more. And it was Padme, Bail, Mon Mothma, Lolo, and Anaconda. I think
Right.
we're the
Senator
people.
Anaconda, who's the Rhodian,
Who's the Rhodian,
Lolo,
Lolo,
his
who's
assistant.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
and basically, if you don't mind, I'm just going to sum up just because this can get really long. There's a party. Anaconda has a drink, and he turned out he was poisoned. He dies. An investigation starts.
I was gonna say that.
Okay, if you can, you have 30 seconds. Go.
Okay, yeah. So basically, Anaconda dies from this poison. And there's a inspector that comes in. They're trying to figure out who killed him. And Padme and seem to think that it's Dici and Bertoni. And they're like, why would we ever kill him? Blah 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 blah. And essentially, Bale and Padme start doing their own recon, trying to figure out what happened. And yada yada, all this stuff happens. And in the end, it ends up being Lolo, one of the fellow senators in that group, who's the one that poisoned Anaconda. And yeah, it's kind of the gist of it. Was that 30 seconds?
30 seconds. Congratulations.
Yeah. You got
I
it
guess
in 28.
last at the very, very end, unfortunately, the clone production bill is indeed passed.
Yeah. And the Emperor is all very like, oh, I'm so upset about this happening, but in such a wonderful Palpatine kind of like evil line says, but now that we senators have more protection, shouldn't our troops have that as well?
Mm.
Yeah.
Always thinking of the people, that Palpatine.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, what do we think of this episode?
I like this episode. A good old whodunit in the middle of Star Wars. I always thought that Inspector looked a lot like that egg fucker from Mario Kart.
Yoshi?
No! The guy that looks like an egg. He's like a villain.
Oh.
Okay, so when you mean egg fucker, you mean a
I'm
fucker
talking-
who looks like an egg.
Correct.
Because Yoshi's the egg fucker.
Oh my god. You guys have dirty minds.
No, I don't know what you were talking about.
I don't playing the game Super Smash Brothers growing up, Yoshi would ingest a person and spit out an egg. So I just
I got nothing.
His name is Dr. Eggman, by the way.
Yeah, he's
so
from the
that's
Sonic
what I meant
stuff,
by
I
egg
think.
fucker.
Yeah, he is the Eggman.
But yeah, no, the Inspector looks like an Eggman. I love a good whodunit. I also like a little more Bale action, Bale Padme. I always like when we get to see their interactions because honestly, growing up watching this show, nothing was clicking as far as like Bale Organa, Leia Organa, because like that's Princess Leia. I'm just a little kid, like I don't really know her last name. I don't really care. And so it's so interesting, like this kind of realization I had, I don't know, probably middle high school when I was like, wait a damn minute. Padme's political buddy is Leia's dad. This all makes sense. Also, why did Leia get to go live in a palace and Luke got the desert? Pretty funny. Moving on.
Should be like that sometimes.
Yeah, I like the episode too, but mostly because besides it being a whodunit, it's just I'm sorry, I found this episode to be fucking hilarious. It's so funny. First of all, I know I brought this up, I think, an episode or two ago, but when Anaconda dies, there's a brief, minute or two moment where, he's in a casket. All his senator friends are standing around him, kind of honoring him. And then his, presumable his aide gets up there and he goes, first thing he says, Anaconda was a flawed man.
Hold on a second.
And I'm just like...
Anaconda.
It is Anaconda.
He doesn't like big butts. Not Anaconda, Anaconda.
That was
Anaconda.
awesome.
Yeah. Anaconda. Padme. Tomato. But yeah, basically, saying that off the rip, not like he did so much for his people, just he was a flawed man off the rip. And then just no one really gets up and really gives an impassioned speech. I mean, in the end, he's what he did, he thought was right and did it for his people. That was sweet, but it was kind of a little savage. And Dici just being randomly killed in the middle of this, and all being this sweet, unassuming senator whose name is just Lolo.
She's not even a senator. She's just an assistant.
Oh, she's just an assistant, right?
Assistant to the senator.
Assistant to the regional senator. And I don't know. It's this whole thing has always just been funny to me. And also like, I don't know, like the old Kaminoan senator, her being like, "What? I want to kill him." Every time he said something, it was a new tagline for our advertising campaign. I'm
Mhm.
just like, why are we bullying this man? He's dead.
Well,
that was so funny, actually. I forgot about that.
Like, come on, y'all. Let the man like he lived a pretty much a bad life. I mean, not a bad life, but like, dude messed up, and like we're just roasting him after death.
So there's a lot that I love about this episode. I think you're right. She's roasting him. She's also making a good point of like she
Yeah.
wouldn't want him dead. He helps her cause by being an idiot in her mind, at least. The thing is that like it's funny to me that we've talked about how funny this episode is. We haven't mentioned Lieutenant Devo, which is I think one
Oh,
of the
yeah.
most on the nose names we've ever gotten because the man is such a diva. And watching him just put both the
Oh.
Jedi and the senators in their place. At one point, Padme is questioning him, and he says, "I'm the investigator. You're the senator. So how about you let me investigate, and I will. You let me go on investigating, and I'll let you go on senating." And it's just like there's so much condescension in his voice, and he's actually kind of good at his job, but kind of an idiot. And I just every time it's funny to me, I'd forgotten he was in this episode because there's so much in this episode. Like this episode, a lot of the stuff that we often talk about, or especially I talk about wanting to know more of what's happening behind the scenes in the Senate, all that's in this episode. And like I think there's a really important point kind of being made here in this episode about how we have all of these different levels of conflict, and that the attempts by people like Anakin to divide the world into, the good people and the bad people, the light side and the dark side, actually doesn't work very well. Because you do have, in the senatorial battle against the separatists, these two different sides of, we want to end the war, we want to continue the war. And so it's very easy for Bail and Padme and all them to immediately be like, oh, they must be the killers. And having to realize, no, they didn't want to kill this guy. He was their political opponent. They don't want him dead. They would make fun of him, and they continue to make fun of him after his death. But they're not the killer. And so to me, there's just so much that is so like it's such an episode about nuance and complexity and hate and who is the enemy and stuff like that. And then it has Lieutenant Devo strutting around, being such an idiot in such a wonderful, beautiful, hilarious way.
Yeah, and I also think that, I mean, it does bring out, like you said, Matthew, like the differences in just because like I don't think that like Dici or Bertoni per se are like pro separatists per se. They're just like pro war because it makes them rich, and it's like they're on no one's side but their own. And so like it shows you like how Palpatine further rose to power by basically stoking the corrupt individuals in the Senate, and the fact that the Kaminoans even have a seat in the Senate when they're the ones in a vote in this, when they're the ones making all the money off of it. That's like if we gave like Lockheed Martin a seat in the Senate, like the U.S. Senate. It's like Lockheed Martin, of course, is going to say yes, please, we need to fund for more and more weapons. Like, what?
Well, and you say that like it's a hypothetical, and I said, at the time this movie was at the time these episodes were happening, we had a vice president who had been, I think it still had stock in Halliburton, one of the biggest weapons companies out there, or they were somehow connected to like profiting off of the war in Iraq. I don't remember exactly how, but yeah, like, and we still do that today. And I think you're right also that I think I've said before that I don't like the end of the second prequel movie, Attack of the Clones, because to me, I think there's something really important about having people who absolutely think they're doing the right thing, even though they're playing into the hands of the evil conspiracy. And instead of it all being, mwahaha, we're fooling everyone. And I think, like, yeah, the Kaminoans probably just want to make money, but like I think Senator Ducci 100% believes that they need to fight the war.
Did you say Ducci?
Isn't that what his name was?
Dici?
Dici?
It sounded like you said douchey, and I was like, damn, all right.
Senator Douchebag.
I just mean, to me, like, I don't think we can easily divide these people into like these are the believers and these are the hypocrites. Everyone is somewhat conflicted here, and that's what makes it a great story.
Except for Padme, not to blame.
I guess not.
Well, but she is, because she jumps to assuming that these people who are political enemies must have been willing to kill
Oh, I
her
think
friend.
to blame for the death of Anaconda. Then Bail is not to blame. No, Bail actually jumped to the same conclusion. Mon Mothma, free of blame in this episode.
Sure. You have found the black and white despite the attempt to find it. You have succeeded in being an Anakin. Well done.
Please.
Except for Mon Mothma becomes one of the most ethically diverse individuals in Star Wars.
Facts.
But yeah, this episode is I think, fantastic. Gives you background. It lets you see like some of the back dealings on Coruscant. And that it almost hits a little harder to home in the modern day when there's so much violence around in our country. And how someone doesn't like how their leader's operating, they just go out find their way to kill them, and it causes division and mistrust within the Senate walls, and leads to an empire, which is unfortunately what we're seeing happen in real time in the U.S. So it unfortunately is hitting harder than it even did back in whenever this came out, 2010.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think it's one more reason why, to me, that last line from Palpatine is so insidious, because he's taking the death of someone who was totally against the war and saying, well, now we need higher security. We need more of these troops, he's using Anaconda's death as a way to say, no, so therefore we should have, more war, more weapons and all that.
It's like we're seeing that happen in real time right now.
Yep.
Not to be too dark.
No, it's okay. It's okay. They're going to cancel this podcast for one reason or another, so it's fine. We can be as honest as we want to be. We're all pretty lefty here, to be clear. That's the direction we're talking about. Just if anyone's curious, not sure about that.
Publicly, I have to state that I have no political leanings.
We get it. He's in the news. He's important. Anyways, may I offer some wrap-up thoughts on this episode?
Wrap us up.
Okay, so one of my favorite things about this episode is how Anaconda Farr dies. And he's dead. And they have a funeral for him. And they say goodbye. And Padme's inconsolable. And 2 seasons later, we see him in the episode Heroes on Both Sides, where Ahsoka is canonically older. Fuck! Give me a second.
What just happened? I'm so confused.
I don't know what just happened, but that was so fucking funny. She just screamed "fuck" at the top of her lungs.
Did the Diamondbacks score? I don't think this is because the Diamondbacks scored. No, the Dodgers won that game, so I don't think that's what she's upset about.
I guarantee you that's not what happened.
Could be.
Heroes on Both Sides came out. What season was that?
It's season 4. I fucking said it. Do you not listen to me?
Oh my god. I missed the season 4 comment. I'm sorry.
I'm just saying.
Why'd you yell?
Because I'm really stressed right now.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Right. Right. So then he's not dead anymore in season 4. And Ahsoka is canonically older than she is in this episode. So here we have a resurrected Anaconda Farr, which is the name of me on this podcast episode today.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the trying to tell stories out of order sometimes works and sometimes really doesn't. He dies because of what Lolo says, because of what he did, which I think we learned about somewhat in season 1, but also we learned in more detail about in later episodes as well. So there's a lot of ways in which this episode is kind of a great standalone, but also when you try to fit in other things, it doesn't work all that well. What do they do to show that Ahsoka's older in that episode in season 4?
That episode, Heroes on Both Sides, is actually the first episode where she wears her new outfit, which I'm gonna fucking lose it.
Aaron stepped away for a moment. But yeah, I mean, looking at a picture, Ahsoka is wearing her new outfit. I believe her what are her head tails called?
Leku.
Her leku are longer.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron, you're muted, I think.
Double
There you
fuck.
go.
Okay. Her leku are a little longer. She's got this diamond cut out in the chest area, which is scandalous.
She looks hot.
And she's got
She's
Amen.
12.
She's 14. Doesn't make it better coming from you, Alex. But she's not 12 anymore.
Oh my god.
That's the whole point. No, I'm kidding, Alex. It's fine. That's the whole point, is that in this episode they introduce Lux Bonteri, who is
that's
some
right.
sort of like a flirty person with Ahsoka. And
Mm-hmm.
so they wanted to kind of age her up so that it was appropriate for her to have this kind of flirty interaction with a separatist and have her have these doubts in her mind. And we
Right.
see Anaconda Farr kind of in the background in one of those episodes. And people are like, why the fuck is he alive?
Yeah.
Because also Padme's there. Padme's there. She's a big part of that whole episode. But yeah, so that's how I know Ahsoka's older. And that's just my little fun fact, is that Anaconda Farr resurrects.
I love that.
I also have one more just thought to throw in here,
Go for it.
unrelated to these episodes, but episode 2, Attack of the Clones. After they rescue everybody and Padme falls out the ship with a clone.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, holy shit. And Anakin's like, I gotta go. Obi-Wan's like, dude, you fucking can't. So right. I've seen people say that the clone she fell down with is Rex. And when Anakin found out who that clone was, he immediately made him captain. And was like, that's my boy.
I like it.
That's
I
just
like
a
it.
headcanon that I like.
That works. I hoped, I was worried that was going to go in another direction. That it was going to be some clone who Anakin was immediately like, okay, I'm punishing you now because you
Oh God.
went after my woman or some nonsense like that. So I'm glad it wasn't that at all. I will just throw out as a last thing, to me, my favorite Padme moment from this episode, which also I could have used some more of in episode 3, is there's a moment where the Rodian aide who killed Anaconda has the gun on Padme. She gets distracted, and Padme just cold clocks her with a right hook.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that's the Padme I want to see more of. She can
Don't fuck
fight.
with
She
her.
can do cool things. She can fall out of a ship and be totally okay. And Anakin doesn't have to worry about her.
Mhm.
So, good stuff.
Yeah. Great
All right,
stuff.
War Crimes McGee, any last things from you?
All my homies hate Clovis has nothing further to add, but it's a good episode.
I like it. All right, thank you both so much to our listeners. Thank you as always. What are some of your favorite episodes from season 1 and season 2 that you want us to talk about? Let us know. I'm going to announce that we're going to also do an episode for you about the new trailer for Mandalorian and Grogu, but this will come out after that comes out. So I'm just predicting the future, but you're going to hear it later. So
Cut
honestly,
all that
guys,
out. We're actually Jedi. We predicted the future.
Most important thing
You're
I
a
can say.
Jedi.
Let's go Mets.
I'm a Sith.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
fuck
I'm kidding. I'm
off.
kidding. I'm kidding. Oh, stay classy. What planet are we on? Coruscant.
Stay classy, City Field.
Don't take it personally, Anakin. Duty comes first, especially in wartime.
Bitch.
Got him.